Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett and thank you for spending some time with me today because in this video, we're talking all about small kitchens, how to design them. Your kitchen may be neat and petite and delicate, but that doesn't mean we can't do something incredible with it. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab a cocktail, and let's get into it. Now, one of the comments I always get whenever we do a video about kitchens or we talk about it or show it is like, I can't do that, my kitchen is too small. The exact opposite. In a small kitchen, you have the opportunities to do so much more than you do in a larger kitchen. It's not even funny. And one of the easiest ways to do this and make that smaller kitchen, no matter the size of it, it might be a micro kitchen. It may be just like the size of a large bar in a house, like it could be anything, is to go really highly built in with your cabinetry. And what do I mean by that? I don't love to see the side of a bottom cabinet. Like if you look at high-end design kitchens, and don't be afraid to look at a big kitchen in a beautiful large home for inspiration in a smaller one too, you don't often see the side of a cabinet. And that's because they abut up against a wall, or they may have like, a waterfall edge on it or whatever. But in a small kitchen, it may just be flanking pantry cabinets with the center cabinets. That's gonna get you a lot of storage. It adds a really strong built-in feature. It has a very high-end look to it. And it's something that, it's not a groundbreaking design element to bring into a space, but it can really change the storage and the look of the space meaningfully. Another built-in feature you could incorporate is extending your cabinetry to the ceiling. If you have, a loft or something like that, like maybe that's not realistic, but if you have a small kitchen where you could do that, even though you might not be able to reach that storage, you won't use it every day. It's great storage in a small space, so you can use it seasonally. You could put holiday decorations up there, or there's also some little like nifty things you can do for lighting that's built in. You can have LED lighting recessed under cabinets, into toe kicks even. You can do some interesting things with a cornice where you have lighting incorporated into that to really kind of elevate the luxury feeling in a small kitchen. That might not be for everybody, but it is something to think about and talk about with, like your joinery person, depending on, how much of a renovation you're doing. But I love a small kitchen because the possibilities are really great there. Something else I love about a small kitchen that you can do only in a small kitchen, okay, it's really hard to do in a big kitchen, is make it a jewel box. Go bold on the color. Do something interesting there. You have the opportunity, so why would you not do it? I hate when I see a little kitchen and it's like, oh, well, we wanted it to feel bright, so we painted everything white. Like, please, like, let's just add some extra lighting under the cabinetry. Like, let's have fun with it. Let's do something interesting. And that doesn't mean you have to go with a crazy color. You can. I love that. You can lacquer everything in like an apple green color. That's like super chic and interesting. You could do it in a pink. I love a hot pink kitchen. Why not? Navy blue lacquered. Oh, it's stunning. All of those are good options, but there's plenty of other things too. What's wrong with going with like neutral beige and taupes and some earthy tones and make it interesting? It doesn't have to be an all-white kitchen, basically, is what I'm getting at. You can do unique wood. You can do all sorts of things in a small kitchen because it's smaller and you have the opportunity to be more adventurous and go bigger. There's lots of features and details you can add that add to that. Some of those things are like wallpaper. If you wanted to wallpaper a big kitchen, the cost of doing that would be astronomical. Wallpaper is very expensive. It's expensive to have installed. It's expensive to have your walls prepped for it. That's, like why more people don't do it. It's kind of why it fell out a little bit of fashion. But in a small kitchen, you can go with a really high-end wallpaper, but like, you don't really need that much of it. Maybe you can get away with 1 or 2 rolls of it and just like this one blank space there or whatever. Go really built in on the cabinetry, take it floor to ceiling. You're gonna do the backsplash. You don't need a lot of wallpaper for this. So that's something to think about because it could be really cool and a fun area to do it. Even just going with metallics or interesting finishes and materials. In a small kitchen, you can also go more elevated with the decor and accessories. Like you can do an oil painting in a small kitchen and nobody's gonna bat an eyelash on it. I don't care if you wanna do an all black kitchen, give us something intriguing, something interesting. You can use your stone as inspiration for a color scheme and go really bold with it. Just remember that at the end of the day, it is a kitchen, so the materials you use, the things you bring in, like if you wanna use a high-end wallpaper, if you wanna bring an oil painting in, there is cooking involved in this space. So let's make sure they're either away from the cooking areas, as far away as they can be, or if you do a lot that has like grease and splashes everywhere and that sort of thing, maybe it's best to go with something a little more durable than something a little more delicate, even if it is more beautiful. That's okay. Just bear in mind that in a small kitchen, you can do a lot. Even though it's small, doesn't mean it has to be boring. Nothing in your life actually has to be boring. Nothing in your home has to be boring. But you need to have someone with an eye kind of come in and look at things or give you some advice before you make some big decisions. Don't be that person that like, you know, you think the floor looks great and then everybody else comes in and it's gray. There's a big trend right now on TikTok where it's like, colorblind people are like, what color is my sofa? And I thought it was blue and it's really gray. And they're like, well, nothing makes sense anymore. Sometimes you just need a designer. Sometimes you just need an outside opinion, somebody to tell you like, hey, maybe that works, maybe that doesn't. Not somebody that's gonna try and upsell you or somebody that's gonna tell you what you have isn't good enough. You need somebody that's just gonna be a reliable outside opinion. I say work with a designer. I would be that person. You could always book a one-on-one virtual consultation with me using the link in the description box down below or going to intro.co/GarrettLeChic where you can show me around your home virtually. I can give you my opinions, my takes on things, or just things to keep in mind when you're decorating and furnishing or renovating your house. It's always really good to have that feedback there. So don't underestimate the value of it and check that link out in the description box down below. Something I often see people do or think in small kitchens is that they can't go with like a luxury material, or they think like, my kitchen's small, my budget's small, I can't do that. And it's actually the opposite, because in a smaller space, you need less of those luxury features. You know, like I said, wallpaper. If you wallpapered a big kitchen, the cost would be astronomical. It'd be so expensive to do just because of the sheer size of this larger space. But in a small kitchen, like, you don't have as much space, so there's not as much cost. You can do a lot of really, really interesting things in those small spaces. Don't be afraid to look out for them, and don't be afraid to shop some discount sales. Ask like, hey, do you have a remnant section? I have a small kitchen. I only need a little bit of this. Go in with the square footage of how much you need, okay, the dimensions, measurements, write that all down, and then go in and say like, oh, well, I need 20 square feet of tile. Well then, okay, like let's look at what's on sale. Like, do you have 20 square feet of it? You do? Great. Okay, cool. I got the high-end stuff for nothing because you have a smaller kitchen. You can usually go higher end, and it's a lot cheaper in a smaller kitchen than you could in a large kitchen. So do not think just because your space is smaller, it's not worthy, you can't make it beautiful, because often that's the exact opposite of the truth. One of the biggest issues people have in a smaller kitchen is just how busy they look, right? You know, it's a small kitchen. Like I said before, you need all of the same things to do the same things. So sometimes you just have too much stuff on the countertop. It's just busy. It just looks cluttered, a mess. One of the easiest ways to fix that, or correct it, let's say, is to use the same material over and over again on multiple finishes. You just want to be consistent about what you're doing, be it the wood tone, the paint color, specifically when it comes to your countertop and backsplash, because your countertop is the area that's going to get busy and cluttered and full of stuff. You know, you're gonna have a little appliance here, you're gonna have a little utensil holder with all of the utensils in it, and maybe you have the soap and this and that and all of the things sitting out there. One easy way to pull back a little bit or create that sense of calmness is to use the same material on your countertop and your backsplash. Just take the slab of stone or the tile or whatever you're using straight up the wall and be consistent with it. And what that is gonna do is it's gonna create that more built-in effect. It's gonna create that more luxury effect that you maybe want in your smaller kitchen, but it also reduces the way our mind is looking at it, the way we're processing it, because we're not saying like, oh, this is this material and then that's a tile and then we switch to this paint color here on this, like, you know, you have all of that. It creates a sense of busyness. Pull back from that a little bit and only use one material there. And if you're gonna use two of them, make sure at least one of them is very neutral. Very high-end bars often have mirrors behind them. They will have mirrored subway tiles for a more glamorous look. That's something you could do in a small kitchen to really up the luxury factor in your home, and I think it's definitely worth considering. These are all really good things to think about in your space because we want to up the luxury factor in a small kitchen. So even if you're doing like, oh, we're just going with the simple quartz, take it up the backsplash. Why not? If you have a smaller kitchen, you need less material, you may as well splurge and treat yourself a little bit and get what you want. The big thing with the mirrored backsplash though is that we want to move the outlets underneath the cabinetry so they're not in the backsplash, and that's something also to think about. It's just another detail to add in there, and it could be a way to reduce a little bit of that extra visual clutter if you need it. Now I know a mirrored backsplash won't be for everybody, and it may be a little bit edgy for some people, but I'm just gonna showcase great design to you. Okay, that's what I love, and that's what we do here on the channel. So if maybe that's not for you, but maybe some of these other things are, definitely take a moment, hit that subscribe button and join us, become a part of our GarrettLeChic family. It's all about what's out there. It's exposing yourself to great design. We love to talk about it. We do 2 videos a week all about interior design. So hit that subscribe button, join us, become a part of our GarrettLeChic family. And for everybody that's watching that already is subscribed, that is a part of our GarrettLeChic family, sound off with one tip you've used in a small or a large kitchen that changed the game organizationally, that added a ton of storage space, that did something that changed how you use that space that everybody needs to know about. Sound off in the comment section down below because we need some creative ideas. I'd also greatly appreciate if everyone watching could give this video a like. An area in a small kitchen that's often overlooked is any available wall space. Any available wall space is a space that you should be adding some sort of storage to. A lot of times a small kitchen will be like a galley style almost, and you just have like one blank wall in the kitchen. It's like, what do I do there? Do I just put a piece of artwork in? Yeah, you could do that. You could just add some wallpaper on it and it would be great. But what I personally love is some sort of organizational storage thing that you can use to display some of your things, but also get them out of the cabinets and off of the countertops and get them somewhere that they actually have a home that's not in the way. Let's be real. If you have a small kitchen, you don't have a lot of countertop space. You just don't. I mean, like, you have an oven or a cooktop there that takes up a lot of it. You have a sink that takes up a lot of it. You may only have a couple of feet. So getting as much off of those countertops as possible is a 10 out of 10. I love a wall storage unit of some sort just because we can turn it into functional design that's beautiful, that's aesthetic, but has a lot of function. And something like a plate rack, for example. If you've got beautiful plates, and that doesn't mean they're designer plates or, you know, fine china. It could just mean like, hey, I got some plates that I really like. They work with my aesthetic and my decor and I don't mind looking at them and seeing them. Get a plate rack mounted on the wall, have them exposed there. Great, I can go and pull the plate off when I need it and put it back when I don't. Wonderful, 10 out of 10. Or if you cook with a lot of spices, for example, instead of having like spices just lined up along the back of the countertop, okay, let's get a wall-mounted spice rack and get them off of there, line them up, rejar them so they're all beautiful and aesthetic. Great, 10 out of 10, love that, enjoy it, appreciate it. All of those things are really great ways to free up some countertop space. You can even do that for utensil storage and all sorts of things. Get creative and get online. Even just the blank side of a cabinet can be a great place to add additional storage that you didn't know you needed, but could be a game changer for you. Now, there's a lot of good sides to having a small kitchen, and there are a handful of downsides. Design-wise, aesthetically, and how it looks. You know, some of the good things are that you can go big, you can go bold, you can do a lot in a small kitchen, and you can make it really interesting. But some of the downsides are all of the things you bring into the kitchen are going to have a bigger or a more proportional impact than they would in a large kitchen. One of those things are appliances. Your appliances are going to stand out a lot more in a small kitchen than they would in a large kitchen. You can get retro style appliances that are in vintage colors, or you can maybe select colors because they're kind of enameled and they have that. There's lots of companies out there doing that. You can get industrial style appliances like, you know, a beautiful high-end range cooktop for your kitchen that has a color on it that maybe works with your cabinetry colors. Great, love that. Even LG has like some refrigerator where you can customize the finish on it and the color. That's really good. But getting appliances that match your kitchen in some way or are toned down a little bit is a really good idea. Even if that means you splurge and treat yourself to built-in or panel-ready appliances, I definitely think it's something worth considering in your kitchen. Any little hack or trick you can do that covers up the metallic finish that appliances often have is a really good one to think about. Even if it's just going for a simple white or a black appliance, that's okay too. Just think about, how is this gonna feel? Is it gonna be overwhelming in this small space? Just depending on how big or small that space is. Maybe you even say like, you know what, I'm not gonna do a full refrigerator. I'm gonna do a smaller refrigerator, you know, like a Smeg appliance or something like that that has a retro look and a color to it. That's fun too. All of those are worth considering. Just bear in mind that, yeah, you're gonna have a big impact if that piece is overwhelmingly large, like a big refrigerator. is gonna look like a big refrigerator in a small kitchen. So do you really want the attention to be drawn there, and how can you overcome that? When you have a small kitchen, sometimes you don't need to look at it like a kitchen. You almost need to look at it, like I said, a luxury bar in a home, or almost like a furniture piece. That can be really interesting too, and furniture always has a really great hardware. Your small kitchen should have it too. Your small kitchen needs to have great hardware, and you can have so much more fun in a small kitchen than you can in a big one, because of a few reasons. Number one, we're going for a jewel box here, okay? We want it to be really interesting. So like, why not have some fun and do some interesting hardware, you know, find some antique, retro, vintage hardware, find a piece of furniture you really like the hardware on, and then see if you can find similar hardware that you can buy brand new. You can go really high end with hardware because you probably don't need as much of it in a small kitchen. Hardware with backing plates on it are also really, really great. And if you have like an open concept small kitchen and you're like, I want it to be super minimal and chic and ultra modern, well, you can go with like an edge pull style hardware that's really thin and refined, and that can be really beautiful. There are also some sorts of cabinet style doors that they don't require hardware. They kind of have that like slanted edge to them, and then behind that edge where your hand goes, they'll put like a metallic detail there. That's really pretty to think about, but you know, that is kind of a custom feature you're gonna have to go with when you have the cabinets manufactured, so bear that in mind. But go and look for all sorts of unique and interesting hardware out there. And like I said, you can even do vintage hardware, because vintage hardware tends to come in smaller lots. Like, we just don't see as much of it or as many of those pieces, because like kitchens didn't used to be like really that big, or there was a staff in them, so like, why would you put luxury hardware in them? Anyway, you can find some of those vintage style hardware pieces that you could then bring into your kitchen. You could even be like really passionate about the hardware and be like, I wanna have it all custom made. You can do that in a small kitchen, because like, it's smaller. Like, you can splurge and treat yourself to some really great hardware. You can do a great faucet in a small kitchen. These are really good places to define the style of your kitchen, to change it or update it easily, because hardware is not always the biggest commitment. You already have holes in your cabinetry for it, so you may as well change it out and do something luxury there to really define the style and stamp it with that high-end look and feel. Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and I am so excited because in today's video, we're talking all about decorating small kitchens, not renovating them. If you're interested in renovating a small kitchen, I'd suggest checking out this lovely video right over here. But in today's video, we're decorating, and the first thing we have to talk about when it comes to decorating a small kitchen is actually decluttering the space. You know, a small kitchen is small, and we don't want to have a ton of clutter and unnecessary stuff covering up the countertops, because that's really useful space. And I don't think that applies just to a small kitchen. Any size really needs to be decluttered in order to be functional and look good. And the big thing about a kitchen is, no matter the size, big or small, you need to have the same amount of stuff to do the same things. So cooking utensils are necessary, but we have to have a lot of storage for them. And the answer to that is organizational methods, like organizational inserts for your drawers to organize all of your utensils. Yes, I just said organize 5 times in a row. That's fine. Organization is everything in a small kitchen, and if you have one, you know that. So whatever methods you can employ to do that are great, and it's worth looking into. Go to some organizational stores, walk around and see what they have. If you can't access a store like that, or you just don't want to, maybe you could access my Amazon storefront linked in the description box down below, where I have an entire section dedicated to kitchen organization, because it is essential in your home. Maybe you'll see some things there that you love and are essential, and some things that you're like, hey, you know what, I think it could be designed better to serve my needs. There is an organizer for absolutely everything. I don't care if it's cooking sheets, baking sheets, pots and pans. I don't care if it's your trash can. I don't care if it's all of your cooking utensils. Like, there is an organizer out there for it that will enhance the space. Like risers for your cabinets for storing soup cans. Like, they are great because you can see absolutely everything. And like I said, in order to cook all of the same things, you need the same utensils. So organizing them is essential in a small kitchen. And the other thing we can do is eliminate a lot of useless decor through decluttering. Get rid of it, we don't need to see it. But when it comes time to decorate, we need to use decor that is thoughtful, and that's the next thing you have to consider is decor that serves a function. When it comes to decor in a kitchen, it has to be functional no matter the size, especially in a small kitchen. So I like to use things that I can actually use when I'm cooking. For example, a cutting board. I'm gonna get a beautiful cutting board and put it in my kitchen because while it's sitting out there, it serves as decor. It's adding something to the space, a warm tone and element to the area. I just love that. So a cutting board is great, and you can look for them that are vintage style or inspired. That way you don't have like a stack of vintage cutting boards you can't use that are serving no function and taking up space. Functional decor, essential in a small kitchen. Another example would be wooden utensils, cooking utensils. I love them because they look great. I can have a jar of them sitting on my counter right next to my cooktop, and I can use them, but I don't have to take up valuable drawer space because they're aesthetic, they're beautiful, they look good sitting there, and there's a dedicated spot for them in my kitchen. And then I can take that drawer space and use it for something else, and I get more function out of it. I actually have quite a bit of cookware, so some of it is on the counter and it looks aesthetic, and some of it's in a drawer. Those things that don't look quite as good or are more functional than aesthetic, I can tuck them away, and I have the space to do that because I'm dividing it between the two, and you can do that in a smaller kitchen. Another thing to think about might be a cookbook stand, something aesthetic like that, but you're getting functionality out of it, or appliances that work within your space and match everything. You know, an example would be like, you know, a vintage or a retro style appliance for your kitchen, or, you know, like a KitchenAid, not sponsored, mixer or something. If you're going to use that, don't have it just because it's aesthetic and it looks good. Get it because you're actually going to use it and it's functional for you. The same thing goes for a toaster. If you're gonna have a toaster sitting out, make sure it matches the space and looks good. Something I would actually recommend, I'm eating my words here a little bit, is in a smaller kitchen, it might make sense not to have the microwave on a countertop, and maybe it does go above the oven. Maybe it goes into a cubby down below if you're renovating. That's something to think about. And if you are considering having that microwave above your cooktop, just remember it is up high and there is the possibility of spilling something on yourself that's hot. So you definitely want to be careful. It's not my #1 recommended thing, but to get that off of the counter, maybe you can find a creative place to put it that is safe for you. It's something to think about. But you can add a lot of functionality through the decor in your kitchen. Now, I would limit myself to a few things that are not necessary and just aesthetic. Like an example would be on a kitchen island, you could do a large vase with branches or a floral arrangement. That's okay because it's not taking up an overwhelming amount of space. You still have plenty of space to do the things that need to be done in a kitchen, but it's not overwhelming. Another example of something you could get rid of is a candle. People love candles. Candles are small. They tend to look like clutter. They're also very expensive, like $38 for a candle. Like, you serious? Come on. What you could do instead, if you're entertaining, bake us some cookies. Bake us some cookies, serve them to the guests so they have something to eat, and the home smells like fresh cookies. I love that. It's a great way to get rid of some of the clutter you don't need in your kitchen, but you also get something delicious to eat, and I love that for you. And I know that designing or decorating your home, especially a kitchen, can be overwhelming and difficult, but if you need a little assistance, I am at your service. You could always book a one-on-one design and decorating consultation with me using the link in the description box down below, or going to intro.co/GarrettLeChic. We can do a one-on-one video consultation. You can show me around and ask your questions, and I can answer all of them for you. And if you're lucky, you might even get to see Arden, won't they? Such a stinker. Little Grinch. Okay, the Grinch is laying in my lap, and we are gonna talk about something really important in any kitchen, let alone a small kitchen, and that's lighting. I love great lighting. Lighting is one of my favorite things in the world because it really changes the way a space looks and feels and the way you interact in it. In a small kitchen, there's a lot you can do with lighting. Obviously, you're gonna have some sort of overhead lighting. You might have recessed lighting. That's great. I would do it in a warm tone, a brighter warm tone, probably not the 2700 that I'm such a fan of. Maybe you dip into the 3000, so it's a little brighter. You get functionality out of it, and that's great. I like a good overhead light fixture in a small kitchen. There's so much you can do in a small kitchen with an overhead fixture because you can really set the tone for the style of your home. Like, we can do that with furniture and the rest of the house, but what are we gonna do in the kitchen? Because there's there's not furniture, there's built-in cabinetry and everything. So a light fixture is a great place to do that with. Something overwhelming, something statement, something interesting. It could be a flush-mounted fixture or pendants. Those are always great in a kitchen. Under cabinet lighting, I love because it's task lighting. It's great for adding another layer into the space. It's a little difficult to install and can be expensive. So there are some battery-operated rechargeable options available in my Amazon storefront that you should check out. My favorite thing to do in a kitchen of any size, and it's something to think about in a small one, is actually the rechargeable LED lamp. I love a rechargeable lamp because you get something small, they're little, there's no cords, cables, or wires unless you're charging them, which you do once and then they're fine for a while. You don't have to have a ton of stuff surrounding that. It's not a big ordeal. They usually are like on and off. They could be on a timer, whatever. They're so great. I love a rechargeable light, especially in a kitchen. There's nothing more like dainty and demure than a little lamp in your kitchen, and I think that's exciting if you have the space for it in that smaller kitchen, because not everyone does, and that's okay. Lighting is great in every kitchen, and you can also add lighting above your cabinets, because often in a smaller kitchen, you're in maybe like more of a loft type of space, or you have really tall ceilings. Well, cool, that's fine. Add some lighting up there because the cabinetry doesn't extend to the ceiling. We can create some interest through layered lighting in a kitchen. That's great, especially for a small kitchen, because a small space can be the most impactful, and I think that is essential and interesting to incorporate into one of them. Speaking of what's essential in your home, well, getting some great design advice is, which is why you should take this moment and hit the subscribe button and join us, become a part of our GarrettLeChic family, and call yourself one of the original OGs if you subscribe before we reach our 100,000 subscriber mark. I'm so excited to have you as a part of our GarrettLeChic family, and I would also be really excited if you'd give this video a like. Let's talk about hardware in a kitchen, because big or small, hardware makes a big statement, and that is something worth having in every space. Hardware is the jewelry of the kitchen, and I love a good piece of jewelry. So you've got to have great hardware in that space. Hardware comes in a lot of different places. That light fixture is a piece of hardware. It's metallic, it's a metal. The appliances in your kitchen are hardware. And the same thing goes for the actual knobs, handles, pulls on your cabinetry, your sink faucet. Your sink itself can be a piece of hardware. And those are opportunities to add interest into that space. You don't have to use the same hardware finish throughout the entire kitchen. You can actually mix two of them together to create something that has some personality to it. Go with stainless steel appliances and then throw us in some brass hardware. That's interesting, it's a contrast, it's great. You know, I would avoid something like white cabinets with a matte black hardware because it could be a lot, but if you really like that black hardware, I say go for it and do it, especially on a black cabinet. Oh, that's great. There's a lot of different options out there, and you can, once again, set a style in your space depending on the hardware you choose. You know, if you have two of the same exact kitchen with two different styles of hardware, one could be very contemporary and the other could be really traditional, and that's great, and I love that about hardware. And especially with a faucet on your sink, that is the place. That is the place. You know, they say kitchens and bathrooms sell homes and everything, that's wonderful, but the faucet on your sink sends the message. Who you are as a person. Are you modern, chic, sophisticated? Are you classic and timeless and elegant? It says exactly what you are. So you can look at different options out there. Like in British homes, for example, they love to have a boiling hot water tap. Excellent idea. I mean, that's great. It does require electrical for that, but that's something really efficient and effective in those spaces that maybe you think about putting into your home as well. You could do unlacquered brass to get that aged look, or something really contemporary that has a lot of like modern technology and functionality to it. I love a bridge style chrome faucet for that really classic traditional look. All of those are okay to do in a small kitchen. It's just about the functionality and then incorporating your personality or your overall design style into that space. A faucet's a great place to do that. And like I said, a sink can be hardware too. Black stainless steel is super, and stainless steel itself is great. I love a cast iron apron front sink. That's amazing. And stone sinks are also very popular. There's so much you can do with hardware in your kitchen. Give it a lot of thought. Give it a lot of consideration, because that is the statement. That is the jewelry of the space. And you can have a lot of fun with it, especially in a smaller kitchen. Now, let's talk about the next thing that makes a small kitchen incredible. That's paint. What are you doing on your walls and your ceiling and your trim, on your cabinetry? What's happening with the paint? You can add so much layering and detail and luxury into a small kitchen with paint colors. A small kitchen, sometimes they're, like a little private room off to themselves. That's a great place for a jewel box. Give me something bold, give me something impactful, lacquer everything, make it stand out and sparkle and shine because it has the opportunity to be something special. If it's an open concept space and you have a kitchen there, you're like, I don't know what to do with it, like it doesn't blend with everything, that's the perfect time to pull some of that cabinetry tones or the countertop tones, paint the walls, add some accents in them in the rest of the space to really create a cohesive look and feel throughout your home that feels very elevated and interesting and chic. You can also neutralize a space. You could color drench a space. I love color drenching. It's a great trend right now and something interesting to think about. If you have painted cabinetry, paint everything that color. Paint the walls, the ceiling, the trim, all of it to really envelop the envelope in that interesting color. I think that's so unique and chic and unexpected as well. Small kitchens have so much potential for greatness. You just have to think outside of the box sometimes. And that might just be through paint and the colors you're choosing in that space. Maybe it's a classic, simple, basic, easy to use kitchen, but having an interesting color could set the stage for something special to happen in that space. And here's another great tip. If you're in a smaller kitchen and you don't have a full height backsplash, you can actually take the color of that splash back, the little 4-inch riser you have there, and take that color and paint the walls that tone. That way it kind of creates the illusion that you do have that full height backsplash. You can blur that boundary and make the kitchen look more elevated, more interesting, more chic, more built out, honestly, and really up the ante in that space. Even if it's a very basic builder grade kitchen, if it's something that's like partially done, oh, we don't have the budget for the backsplash right now, you don't even need it. Just paint the walls that color and it's great. And paint is something that's easier to change than like a stone countertop or backsplash. And I think it's something worth thinking about in your home. Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and in this video, we are talking all about those teeny tiny little kitchens because every time we talk about kitchens on a video, you all say, but Garrett, what about the small ones? Always remember that no matter the size of your kitchen, you can choose any style you want it to be and any material you want. So with that said, we've got some things to talk about, so let's get into the video. Now, the first thing we have to talk about is what it takes to make a small kitchen functional. And in my opinion, that's not about the design or the cabinet profile or even the countertop material you choose. You'll make those decisions yourself. We're talking about updates that don't require you gutting and renovating your kitchen. So one of the great ways to make a small kitchen more functional is to add more storage. And one of my favorite places to add storage in a small space, similarly to a bathroom, is in-wall storage, recessed storage. This would be like a medicine cabinet. You can add shelving in between the studs of your wall that's recessed into the drywall. That's a really good way to take advantage of space you already have there that is just completely unusable. It's always important to remember that you do not know what's behind the drywall, so I always recommend having this done professionally, but you can add in things like medicine cabinets without mirrors, the little door, or even open shelves into the studs of your wall to add more storage into that space. You could do it in a backsplash, or sometimes you can find these shelving units that are really big and could go on a big empty wall you have in your kitchen. Because some kitchens actually have a good amount of floor space, but they're just really small in terms of the cabinetry they have in the actual workspace. So anything you can get out of that cabinetry and off the countertop and into another space is a great way to improve the functionality of a small kitchen without compromising on the things you need. That actually reminds me that you might have a kitchen that doesn't have a lot of cabinetry or countertop space. You may have a space in your kitchen that's completely wasted and it's not big enough for you to have installed cabinetry there, or it just doesn't make sense because it would impede a doorway. Consider adding some piece of furniture that brings more storage into the space, be that some sort of shelving unit or even an armoire that would fit perfectly there, because furniture pieces can be a lot more slender than cabinetry can, and they're a lot more affordable. They don't require a ton of renovating to get them into the space to increase that functionality. Now, something I will say is that in my opinion, I don't love that kind of metal wire rack we often see. It has a little bit of an industrial look. It looks kind of like a bakery or a restaurant kitchen. So I would look for something that's an alternative alternative that maybe is not designed to be kitchen storage intentionally, but can really serve a great function. You can also add storage outside of your kitchen in this way. If you find a really great armoire that can serve as a pantry or overflow storage for some of the things you're not using right now or you don't use regularly. I've also seen people take china cabinets like open hutches and turn them into baking cabinets where they keep all of their baking supplies and cookie cutters and sheet pans and all of that. It's a really interesting idea. You can make a coffee bar. There's a trend right now where people are taking vintage television cabinets from like the 90s and the 80s that have the big bulky TVs in them and turning them into coffee bars that are concealed and closed up so they don't have to look at anything. Those are all really great ideas to add storage, add functionality into your kitchen or outside of your kitchen to alleviate some of the stuff in your kitchen, creating more space, therefore more functionality. Let's talk about elevating the space. And by elevating, I mean going up. Take your cabinetry up to the ceiling. Consider adding another row of them if possible. Now I know we're talking about ideas that'll increase the functionality of your space without renovations, and that's kind of a renovation, it's okay. But also, if your cabinets don't go to the ceiling and don't extend all the way, consider using that shelf space for storage, because that's what it is. The top of those cabinets are just a shelf. I personally don't love that because I'm not cleaning up there. I don't need that level of storage. My kitchen isn't really that teeny tiny, and that's okay, but I personally would get rid of it. But if you do have it and you can't get rid of that and you can't take the cabinetry up, or you just have really high ceilings and it doesn't make any sense to do that, take advantage of that shelf space. Put things on there that you either use really regularly if you can reach it easily, mixing bowls and large items like that, so you're getting them out of your cabinetry, you're adding more storage space, and they're also getting used regularly enough that they're not getting a dust buildup. Or put things that you don't use regularly that you intend on washing every time you use them. You may also have to be a little bit more active about cleaning and dusting that surface if it's in your kitchen and you're putting cooking utensils on there, but it's a great place to take advantage in a smaller space. I think that also takes us into a place that's really interesting by using cooking utensils as decoration and as decor. Get things that are beautiful, that are really good quality and long lasting, especially if you really love cooking in your kitchen, then you want to have good items. So get some that are really good and hard wearing, but also attractive if they're going to be out on display. There's no reason all of your wooden cooking utensils can't be decor, and there's no reason having beautiful mixing bowls on the counter can't be aesthetically pleasing and beautiful. Be on the lookout for all of those sorts of things, because when you're taking advantage of using all of your cooking supplies as decor, now everything in the space is functional and useful, and you're not cluttering the space with things that are not relevant to what you're using that space for. I know some of these things are a little bit more elevated, or it's like, Garrett, that's not really an upgrade for my small kitchen. We actually did a video all about kitchen updates that don't require renovations, where I talked through some of the basic elements that you could do, including some of the things like adding hardware, backsplashes, and painting, what colors to choose, and even window treatments to incorporate into a kitchen. So be sure you check that out. I'll link it in the description box, and it'll be right up here for you. Let's talk about something I often tell you not to do, but a small kitchen could really benefit from, and that's open shelving. In a kitchen, I don't always recommend open shelves because shelves have to be cleaned and they get dusty. So if all of your stuff is out on display, it can get dusty, and nobody wants to eat off of dusty plates, right? So be sure, if you are in a smaller kitchen and you're really cramped for space, you don't write off open storage, because it actually can have benefits, because you don't have any of the side panels, you don't have the front or the doors taking up space. You're getting more space by not having those cabinets and having open shelves instead, and that can be something really beneficial to your kitchen, especially if you really take the time to source and find beautiful pieces like dishes and mixing bowls and utensils in your kitchen, because having them on display can be really great. So be on the lookout for open shelves in your kitchen, even if it means you put a little bit more work into them. Maybe you're a minimalist and you're like, Garrett, I only have a couple of plates and cups anyway, it'll be fine. I think that's really fantastic. It can also be a way to make a small kitchen feel very open, because you're seeing more of the wall space. You do have more open space, bigger bigger visuals in the space, making it feel a lot bigger. That can be really beneficial also to a smaller kitchen, because a small kitchen can feel quite compact at times, and a lot of times it's like a really small space with a lot of cabinets and that's it. Well, now you don't have that and you can see all of your beautiful things. So be on the lookout for adding open shelves to your small kitchen. You know what I love, and I know you all do too, and you'll sound off in the comment section, is a jewel box kitchen, right? So small spaces in our homes, like a powder room, we like to have a lot of fun in those. We like to paint them vibrant colors and add great wallpaper to them. You can even upgrade and do a really great high-end stone countertop in there, or floors that are beautiful. All of that's really great in a powder room, but why can't it be in a small kitchen? If your kitchen is really that small, make it a jewel box. Have a lot of fun with it. Make it a feature in your home. Sometimes it's those really difficult spaces that once you put your mind to it and you get to work on it, they actually turn out to be the best features in our homes, and a jewel box kitchen can be that. Now, the only thing I will say is be mindful that you're not using like neon colors or something that would just feel very jarring. You do want to take into consideration that a small space can be overwhelming really quickly, but having a jewel box kitchen is fantastic. And the great part about a small kitchen is that it's smaller, so it means you have to buy less things, less cabinets, less stone for it. All of that's really great because it means you can put more budget towards higher quality pieces or elements that are really unique, really fantastic. And that means have a professional out and paint your cabinets an interesting color. Go to the stone yard and look for that really vibrant stone that will really make an impact in the space. You can also have fun with a ceiling detail. Paint it a cool color, add wallpaper, or have an interesting finish applied to it. That can make a compact space look so amazing. That can be so much fun in a small kitchen. Turn it into a jewel box, make it the best feature of your space, because ultimately kitchens are spaces we use on a daily basis. Even if you don't cook, you probably still know how to make a bowl of cereal, and that's the space you're going to be using. So be on the lookout to make that a space that's really fun, like a jewel box powder bathroom would be. Why can't that be your kitchen? I love that for you. We love a jewel box kitchen, but sometimes you like something more minimal and you're just like, Garrett, I need functionality. Hanging storage is the key, is the moment for your kitchen. And I love that in a space, because your walls are essentially empty in a kitchen, right? Like you don't have a ton of stuff going on, or you have a big empty place. What are you gonna put there? Like you could put a giant spoon or a sign that says eat. Or you could hang pots and pans there. You could hang cutting boards there. I actually really love a hanging plate rack, like a wooden plate rack with dowels or a gallery rail that holds your plate, freeing up space in your cabinets and then taking advantage of the beautiful things you have and turning them into artwork. That's a fantastic idea. I know one of the things I recommended was taking your cabinets up, right? And a lot of people can't reach those because they can't reach like a 9-foot ceiling. That's normal. But if you have that and you're like, Garrett, I need to take advantage of it, but I can't reach it, like that's a great space, why not get a step stool or a ladder that's really beautiful and hangs on the wall? That can be a piece of artwork, and it can take advantage of those upper cabinets and allow you to reach them, but you also don't have to have a ladder hanging around your house. You can have a step stool on the wall and all of a sudden you can reach everything. And there are some really great ones out there. Be on the lookout for all sorts of wall-based storage for your kitchen. Not everything is going to work for you, and that's okay, but really look at what in these drawers and these cabinets is taking up all of the space. Maybe you're like, Garrett, I use a ton of spices. I have like 3 spice drawers. You need to get a big spice rack. Okay, and then you'll have 3 drawers that are available, and I love that for you. It's all about figuring out what is taking up the most space and looking at how you can alleviate that. Even if you have a lot of small appliances and you're in a smaller kitchen, well, maybe you can store them somewhere else when you're not using them, and now you just freed up a ton of kitchen space. And maybe you find that after a couple months you don't use them, and then you can get rid of them and you can justify not having them, and that's great. But wall storage is a great and efficient way of taking advantage of a space, because like I said, a lot of kitchens have not a lot of cabinetry, but you will have a big empty wall or a lot of floor space. If you're in a galley kitchen or you just have 1 row of cabinets with a wall behind you, that's an essential place to take advantage of and add storage onto. And it can be totally aesthetic. Get some gorgeous copper pots and give us a vibe. And I love that for you. One of the things I see with small kitchens all of the time is that they can look a little bit messy very quickly. And that's because you don't have a lot of space. So something to keep in mind and focus on is organization. organization, and you want to add as much of that as possible. So be creative with what you're looking at and what you're doing. If you say, gosh, I have a ton of sauces here that need a great place to store them, well, you can look for a little Lazy Susan type storage unit that will hold them all. And maybe you can even put something like that in your refrigerator if you need that. That will work in anybody's kitchen. I love that. As a matter of fact, let me make a note of that to add to my house. Back to the video, adding organization is essential. Look for these tension drawer organizers, and you can really organize a drawer in your kitchen. Look for all sorts of organizers that clip onto the bottom of shelves, that extend the space in your cabinets. All of that's essential to your kitchen not feeling cluttered and for it to be organized so you can actually access all of the things you have. Something else I see in small kitchens when we're like desperately trying to add storage, we're trying to figure it out and get all of our stuff into there, is sometimes these spaces have way too many materials in them and can kind of look mismatched or cluttered or just like it's piecemeal together and not beautiful. Just because your space is small doesn't mean it can't be beautiful and doesn't mean it's not fantastic. And also, let's dispel the notion that having a small space means it's affordable. In some major cities, a smaller space is significantly more expensive than much larger places outside of that. So don't think just because you have a smaller space, it shouldn't be beautiful or it's not worth putting some time and effort into to make better and make more luxurious, because it definitely is. So don't add too many different materials or different finishes for that matter. If you have a lot of really great smooth finishes in the space, whether that's cabinetry, flooring, countertops, be sure you're not adding a ton of rustic finishes that clash with those, or the opposite. You really want to be careful on what you're adding to the space to increase the functionality, but also tone it down a little bit or make it make sense. You don't want to just have a bunch of stuff added and cluttered everywhere, adding to the chaos that can be a small kitchen. Be careful with what you're bringing into the space because you want it to also be functional and beautiful. So be on the lookout for all of those, and your small kitchen will be small but mighty. Well, there you have it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I want to hear from my subscribers. What is one feature you added to your kitchen, be it big or small, that made the world of difference and you think everyone needs to know? Sound off down below. Be sure, if you haven't already, you give this video a like, and if you're not subscribed, please join us here by hitting that subscribe button. I also know that you know someone that has a small kitchen that could use a little bit of help. Share this video with them, because friends help friends, and I will see you in the next one.